The arena lights dimmed, and the hum of anticipation filled every corner of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao, a living legend, walked to the ring not as a spectacle, but as a force of calm precision. Each step measured, every breath deliberate. Across the ring, Adrien the Problem, Broner entered like a storm, swaggering, smiling, exuding confidence, as though the crowd itself belonged to him. He had made a career of provocation, of turning attention into chaos, and tonight was no different. Broner's reputation preceded him. Known for his flamboyant entrances, brash comments, and brutal knockouts, he had earned world titles in 4 weight divisions. Yet in recent years, talent alone was not enough. Losses had begun to pile up, and discipline had become a stranger. Yet in this moment, under the glaring lights, he was all audacity, promising shockwaves, promising that he would humiliate Pacquiao. "I don't see Manny Pacquiao beating me," Broner had said, his voice dripping with mockery. "Before he beats me, he's better off being a driving instructor." The words hung in the air, reckless, almost combustible. But Pacquiao remained untouched by the provocation. He had faced threats, taunts, and adversity far greater than this. For him, this fight was not about theatrics. It was about proof, about defying age, defying expectation, about reminding the world why he was still one of boxing's most feared warriors. The crowd's roar intensified as the bell neared. Seconds stretched into eternity. And then, with the clang of the bell, the dance began. Pacquiao's movement was poetry, fluid, fast, impossible to predict. He advanced, measuring distance, probing defenses, eyes locked on Broner, reading every twitch, every micro-expression. Broner attempted to smile, to throw off the tension, but beneath that bravado, the slightest tremor betrayed him. Pacquiao unleashed the first flurry, a series of jabs and rapid combinations designed not just to test Broner's defense, but to command respect, to establish dominance. Broner retreated, turtled, trying to find an opening, trying to turn Pacquiao's speed against him. But every feint, every setup was anticipated. Pacquiao's hands were lightning, his angles unpredictable, his presence overwhelming. Each punch he threw carried not just power, but centuries of skill, of experience, of history in the ring. The crowd sensed it. Gasps followed each connection. Shouts erupted at near misses, and every spectator felt the tension like a physical force. Pacquiao's approach was methodical. He didn't just strike, he manipulated, he controlled. He tested Broner's reactions, forcing him to commit mistakes. And when Broner faltered, Pacquiao pounced. Each hit was precise, a mixture of speed and strategy, designed to wear down, to dominate, to humiliate without mercy. And then came the first moment that truly defined the fight. Pacquiao's signature left hand snapped forward with blinding speed, brushing against Broner's guard. Then another follow-up, then another, each one landing with surgical precision. Broner's eyes widened, his earlier confidence replaced by a growing realization. The challenge he had mocked was far more dangerous than he had imagined. Pacquiao's combination struck not just the body, but the psyche. Every punch was a question. Can you survive this? Can you respond? And Broner's answers were faltering, inconsistent, filled with desperation. The arena seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the battle. Each connection echoed through the crowd. Each block encountered a story of strategy versus instinct. Pacquiao's movement was hypnotic. He shifted angles, disappeared and reappeared, a phantom in the ring. Broner, despite his youth, struggled to maintain the narrative he had constructed in his mind, that he could dominate, that he could defy the legend before him. Every feint, every jab, every snap of Pacquiao's glove chipped away at his composure. It was not just a fight. It was a chess match, a psychological thriller, a war of wills. Pacquiao's legacy was written not in words, but in action, in every precise strike, in every evasive maneuver that made Broner question his own audacity. And in the audience, every gasp, every shout, every foot pounding against the floor mirrored the drama unfolding in the ring. The world was watching, and in these first moments, Pacquiao had already set the stage. This was his fight, and Broner's fatal mistake was believing otherwise. The tension in the arena was palpable. An almost electric charge that seemed to grip every spectator. The crowd, a mixture of excitement, nerves, and awe, watched as Pacquiao continued his relentless assault, each movement calculated, each punch a statement of intent. Adrien Broner, once so cocky, so unshakable in his bravado, was beginning to feel the weight of the moment, the reality of facing a living legend. The raw, unrelenting precision of Manny Pacquiao was setting in. Every instinct he had once relied upon now faltered under the speed and tactical mastery of the Filipino icon. Pacquiao's eyes were locked on Broner, reading the slightest flinch, the subtlest hesitation. He moved like a predator, circling, probing, not merely striking but orchestrating a symphony of controlled violence. His fists were more than weapons. They were instruments of psychological warfare. Each jab, each snapping left hand, carried with it an invisible pressure, forcing Broner to react before he was ready, to commit before he could plan. And Broner's reactions, increasingly frantic, betrayed him. His swagger replaced with tension, his smile fading into grim determination. The crowd sensed a shift. The initial anticipation, the excitement of a contest, was giving way to a shared understanding. This was not an ordinary fight. It was a masterclass in strategy, timing, and raw skill. Every punch Pacquiao threw was punctuated by the roar of the audience, each gasp a reflection of the drama unfolding. He was painting a portrait of inevitability, the inevitability of Broner's struggle, the inevitability of the legend asserting dominance. Broner tried to respond, launching counters, attempting to assert control over moments that no longer belonged to him. But Pacquiao's movement was hypnotic, almost impossible to predict. He flowed like water, slipping angles, darting in and out, creating openings where none seemed to exist. When Broner attempted to attack, he met a wall of speed and accuracy, each strike meeting a ghostly deflection, each punch thwarted before it could land fully. The audience felt the tension spike with each failed attempt, the suspense building as Broner's frustration became visible, almost tangible. And then came the moments that would define the fight. Pacquiao's combinations were blistering, a relentless sequence that tested Broner's endurance, his focus, and his very will to fight. The signature left hand, delivered with surgical precision, snapped through Broner's guard again and again. He staggered, retreated, desperate to regroup, but Pacquiao's onslaught allowed no pause, no moment of respite. The Filipino legend was not just fighting. He was dictating a story, a narrative where he was the unassailable protagonist and Broner, the overconfident antagonist, was being written out his own script. The tension reached cinematic heights when Pacquiao shifted his approach, blending speed with subtlety, mixing feinting jabs with sudden, explosive power punches. Every feint, every pause, every carefully timed strike created suspense, as though the ring itself had become a stage, and the audience were witnesses to a dramatic thriller unfolding in real time. Broner's energy began to wane, each punch slower, each movement more reactive than proactive. Pacquiao's dominance was absolute, his artistry undeniable, and the crowd's reaction, half awe, half fear, reflected the mastery in motion. This was no longer a fight of skill alone. It had become a psychological battlefield. Broner's mind raced with doubt, frustration, and disbelief, while Pacquiao remained serene, a calm force of nature. His eyes never wavered. His strategy never faltered. Every strike was intentional, every movement designed to maximize impact, both physically and mentally. And in the stands, in front of screens worldwide, spectators were being drawn in, held captive by a narrative that combined suspense, spectacle, and the sheer artistry of boxing at its highest level. Pacquiao's flurries were language, a conversation of fists and movement, and Broner, despite every effort, could barely respond. The combination of speed, precision, and psychological manipulation created a tension so thick it could be felt, a suspense so tangible that every viewer leaned forward, unable to blink, unable to turn away. And when Pacquiao landed yet another blistering sequence, staggering Broner across the ring, the audience understood the gravity. To challenge Manny Pacquiao was not simply fight a man, but confront history itself. As the seconds ticked by, every punch, every defensive maneuver, every shift in momentum was magnified. Pacquiao was not just winning. He was dominating, commanding, storytelling with each movement. Broner's attempts at resistance became increasingly desperate, creating a palpable, cinematic tension that left no one in the arena untouched. And as the bell echoed, signaling the close of this chapter of the battle, the audience knew they had witnessed a spectacle, a fight where suspense, drama, and artistry converged in perfect harmony. The atmosphere in the MGM Grand had reached a fever pitch. Every heartbeat in the arena seemed synchronized with the rapid-fire punches being thrown in the ring. The crowd, previously split between anticipation and doubt, now erupted in unified awe as Manny Pacquiao's mastery became undeniable. Adrien Broner, once confident, brash, and untouchable in his self-assured swagger, now looked like a man wrestling with a reality he refused to believe, a reality where he was outclassed, outmaneuvered, and utterly exposed. Pacquiao's movements were poetry in motion, his fists executing a dance of lethal precision. Each left hand, each rapid jab, each feint and pivot was choreographed perfection, designed to dismantle not just Broner's defense, but his spirit. The Filipino champion's eyes, calm yet piercing, read every micro-expression, every twitch, every hesitation. Broner's frantic attempts at retaliation were like shadows trying to match a lightning strike, futile, too slow, and ultimately irrelevant. As the final minutes of the fight unfolded, Pacquiao escalated his offensive artistry to unprecedented heights. The sequence was cinematic in every sense. A flurry of punches that blurred the lines between speed and intent, a combination of power and precision that staggered Broner repeatedly, forcing him to the ropes, gasping, his confidence shattered. The crowd rose to their feet with every connection, sensing the inevitability of the outcome. Their cheers a mix of admiration, shock, and pure cinematic suspense. In these final moments, Pacquiao didn't merely fight. He narrated a story. Every punch, every angle, every step back or forward was part of a narrative crescendo, building tension to a point where the audience was completely hypnotized. Broner's resistance waned, his earlier bravado reduced to fleeting glances of desperation. The contrast between the aging legend and the younger challenger couldn't have been more stark. Pacquiao, a 40-year-old senator and fighter, moved with fluidity and speed that defied both age and expectation. While Broner struggled under the relentless pressure, his movements reactive, fragmented, and slow. And then came the final sequence, an orchestration of mastery, precision, and psychological dominance. Pacquiao's combination of body shots and piercing left hands forced Broner into a desperate clinch, his breathing ragged, his face etched with frustration and disbelief. The crowd held its collective breath as if the entire city of Las Vegas had been condensed into that single arena, watching history unfold in real time. Each punch landed was a punctuation mark in the story of inevitability. Each defensive flinch from Broner an acknowledgement of Pacquiao's supremacy. The bell rang, signaling the end of the contest, and for a moment, time seemed suspended. The audience, the commentators, even Broner himself seemed trapped in the cinematic gravity of the moment. Manny Pacquiao, with his characteristic calm and dignity, raised his gloves not just in victory, but in testament to a career defined by artistry, discipline, and sheer willpower. Broner, meanwhile, stood silent, his earlier arrogance evaporated, replaced by a quiet recognition of fight loss in every sense, tactically, physically, and psychologically. The judges' scorecards confirmed what everyone in the arena had already witnessed, a unanimous decision for Manny Pacquiao. The Filipino legend had outperformed his younger opponent in every category, proving that talent, experience, and heart could transcend age and expectation. The post-fight scene added another layer of drama. Broner, unable to accept the reality, grabbed the microphone and attempted to cast doubt, declaring he had won the fight. But his words fell flat against the overwhelming evidence of Pacquiao's dominance. The audience reacted with a mixture of disbelief and derision, while Pacquiao remained composed, thanking God, his team, and the fans, embodying the poise of a true champion. This was more than a fight. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare, tactical brilliance, and cinematic storytelling. Manny Pacquiao had turned the ring into a theater, his fists into a script, and the audience into captivated witnesses of an unforgettable performance. Every spectator, from the front row to the living rooms watching worldwide, had been drawn into a story of suspense, skill, and inevitable triumph. The lessons were clear. Underestimating Pacquiao was a fatal mistake. Overconfidence and arrogance could not withstand mastery and experience. As the arena lights dimmed and the echoes of cheers lingered, one truth was undeniable. Manny Pacquiao had not only won a fight, he had cemented a narrative of supremacy, resilience, and artistry that would resonate for years to come. And as fans reflected on the spectacle, they realized that they had witnessed not just a boxing match, but a cinematic experience, one that combined suspense, drama, and breathtaking skill in a way that only a legend could deliver. Now, the stage is set for reflection. What would have happened if Broner had approached differently? Could anyone in the world disrupt the rhythm, the mastery, the experience of Manny Pacquiao? These questions hang in the air, echoing the power and permanence of performance that transcended sport. The fight concluded, but its story, its suspense, and its cinematic brilliance will linger in the minds of all who witnessed it. This is a final act of saga, a moment in boxing history that reminds the world. To challenge Manny Pacquiao is to confront a force of nature, a master tactician, and an enduring legend whose artistry cannot be denied. And as the credits of this battle fade into memory, one truth remains eternal. Some mistakes are fatal, and this, without question, was Broner's. Think about it. What would you have done if you were in Broner's shoes? Could you survive the speed, the precision, and the mind of a legend? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us who you think could even challenge Pacquiao. And make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more cinematic boxing stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat.